I have an opportunity to introduce somebody right now who's been hugely important to the city of San Francisco, as well as to the programs that we provide in San Francisco. She made history when she became the 45th mayor of San Francisco a number of years ago. And what's really amazing to me is that those kinds of people who will take on the challenges of trying to work in such a complicated city where their responsibilities not only have to respond to the needs of the underserved communities, but they also have to serve the billionaires and the millionaires and all the other people who have stakeholders, the companies that all have buildings here and all that. So finding kind of that space between all of these different and sometimes similar and competing interests is a job that makes my job feel very small. But I'm glad that there are people like our mayor who are willing to take on those challenges. She, over the last year, has moved 2,000 people, exited 2,000 people from the homeless ranks, has built 400 new beds for homeless people to move into, and has been a key supporter of our programs, both for our teenage pregnancy program. She was a speaker at one of our recent graduations, and she is constantly involved with employment for the TAY population and for our older adult program. So we're really happy to have such an intimate partnership with the City and County of San Francisco due to the commitment of this mayor to make sure that populations, particularly those who are underserved, receive the resources that they need. So with great pleasure, I introduce to you the mayor of San Francisco, Mayor London Breed.
And I just want to make one correction. It wasn't just 2,000 people that we helped exit homelessness last year. It was 2,146. But the work that we've been able to do in San Francisco has everything to do with organizations like Felton, and I am so grateful to each and every one of you who are here tonight supporting the incredible work of this institution that has existed for 130 years. Now let's think about that. For 130 years, this organization from the very beginning recognized that there were vulnerable populations of families that needed a helping hand in a different kind of way. Whether it's mental health support, social services, at a time where it wasn't like it is today in terms of the kinds of investments that you see we make, and a lot of the new programs and other things that are just as great and have started more recently. This organization has stood the test of time because of its commitment to our seniors, to people living with disabilities, to people struggling with mental illness, to teenagers. So many people who just need that kind of wraparound extra supportive services. You hear us talk about it on a regular basis in terms of what we need to deliver for our vulnerable populations. And Felton is an important partner in helping us to deliver what is necessary to really make San Francisco a better, more equitable place for so many of our residents. So I am grateful to be here tonight. I'm grateful to continue that partnership, to make sure that this organization has the resources it needs in order to provide the services that impact so many lives. I want to also thank Dr. Grant Colfax, the Director of the Department of Public Health, for being here as well. And I just want to talk about my experience specifically with the girls at Hilltop. This is a very unique program here in San Francisco. And I don't know what it was about these girls that came to see me in City Hall. I just, you know, the fact is they had children as teen moms, but they didn't stop going to school. That happens to some young girls. They stop going to school, they give up, and it can seem overwhelming. And these young ladies, they came into my office, told me their stories, brought their babies, asked me to their graduations, talked about things they wanted in their lives, including some of the young ladies who said, I want to be a police officer. I want to help my community. I want to be a social worker. I want to give back. I don't want to give up. They were so optimistic about the future. And it was because they had an incredible program and a lot of people who helped to provide them with the resources and the support and the education that they needed to succeed. That is the organization that you're supporting tonight. That is the work that you're supporting tonight, because it is important work. And I will tell you that San Francisco has some really very, it's a very challenging time for our city. And I grew up here. I lived in poverty here. I was fortunate because I had programs like this that helped to support me. I wouldn't be here if it weren't for programs like Felton. But we see on our streets people who sadly are suffering with mental illness, substance use, and a number of other issues. This is really the crisis of our time. Dr. Colfax and I talk about this on a regular basis because he was here working at UCSF during a time when the HIV crisis was really at the forefront of what was happening in the 1980s. And look at where we are. Less than 200 new HIV diagnoses in the city, which is the lowest in the history of our city, and no one ever thought we would get there. We have to attack mental health in the same way. We have to target it different than what we have before. Yes, in the city and county of San Francisco, we support over 30,000 people in our behavioral health program. And we dug deep into this program to understand what was actually going on. 4,000 of those 30,000 dual diagnosed with mental illness and substance use disorder. And a real equity issue because 35% of that population is African American. Knowing that we have tackled big challenges before, we can tackle this challenge now. I am optimistic about the future and what we are going to do together. It's going to require the help and assistance of Felton now more than ever to increase its capacity to help us serve more people. And just because we don't want to see it out there doesn't mean it's going to go away, and we can't keep pushing the problem from one area to the next. We need beds, we need housing, we need conservatorship, we need the kinds of solutions that will help people get the support they need to live productive lives. That's all we want, is our family members, our friends, our communities to thrive. And for 130 years, this organization has represented what is so critically needed to make sure that that happens. And so I could not let the evening go by without not only thanking you for the work that you do, but Al, I'm going to ask you to come on up here for a special presentation. Come on up. I know you all think mayors and elected officials give away certificates all the time. And yes, I do give away a lot of certificates. But I will say, I'm very particular about giving away this kind of certificate. So today, I am making it Felton Institution Day in the city and county of San Francisco. Thank you for 130 years. There you go.
Thank you again, Mayor Breed. We certainly appreciate your being here. One more time, let's show our appreciation to Mayor Breed.